Today we are looking at question 3 from paper 1. It's a 10-mark question on the problems that girls experience due to relationships and processes within school. We're going to look at the question, identify the hooks and the mark scheme, and then the student answer with an examiner report. So it is important to note that on all 3 papers there are 10-mark questions with items, so it is a really good idea to practice plenty of these type of questions. Practice finding the hooks, applying your knowledge, and these questions are also great to practice timed. With the 10-mark questions, you have got 15 minutes to answer. Make sure you are giving 2 balanced paragraphs and read the item carefully. You are looking for the item hooks. You need to quote them. Make it really easy for the examiner to identify that you have used the item. These hooks are placed there for you to develop and add your knowledge to. And make sure that you are looking for the question hooks, because that will also give you further opportunity to show application of knowledge. Now, it is really important that you are practicing from past exam questions, because the items in these questions are shorter than what you will see in some of the textbooks. So if we have a look at the item, this style of 10-mark question does tell you 3 times to use the item: here, here, and again in the question. Make sure you read the item more than once. Read the question between it each time, and that will give you a really good idea about what the question is about, and it will give you time to formulate some ideas about how you're going to answer this question. The question is asking you to apply material from the item, and in this case it's wanting you to give 2 problems that girls may experience as a result of relationship and processes within schools. Now, this question also gives you what you are looking for in the item. It is the word after the 2 that is in bold. In this case it is problems, or more specifically the problems faced by girls in schools. So the first hook is going to be in the first sentence: subject choice. And I want you to consider, what subjects are girls choosing? Why are they choosing those subjects? For example, what is it about the school and the processes and relationships within it might influence those choices? You could even consider the potential long-term effect of these gendered subject choices. Hook number 2 is in the second sentence, which is talking about expressing identities and also may lead to conflict. So start to consider the different identities that girls might express, what conflicts might arise within the school. So for example, this could be between teachers or even between peer groups. And again, consider the impact of these problems. Now, the final sentence here is just a rewrite of the question. It is not classed as a hook, as it isn't indicating one of the problems, so as a result it will not be credited. So when you start to have a look at the mark scheme as well, this will also give you clues about what you could be writing about in terms of each of the hooks. So if we look at this bit here where it says to develop applications, it basically tells you what hook number 1 might be. So for example, girls are encouraged to choose subjects which may restrict access to well-paid jobs. So make sure you show understanding by giving examples of the subjects that they may choose and the factors and the processes within school that might have influenced it, so such as peer group pressure, gendered of the teachers, gendered subject images, and so on. Hook number 2 is given here: the identity that girls may be policed through the male gaze. So again, make sure that you are showing understanding about who might be doing the male gaze. Is it teachers or is it the peer groups? And remember, the focus is on the problem, so think long term. Will it impact their careers or will it impact their achievement rates? It also indicates how you are going to get your AO3. So here, to what extent to which girls are experiencing these problems. So we want you to avoid assuming that all girls are the same. Your class, the ethnicity will influence this, and you can gain analysis marks by making comparisons. Also, remember, there are marks available for evaluation and you will be credited for it. So what should your paragraph look like? Now, there's no hard and fast rules about this structure, whether your item or your hook should be coming at the start or at the end. But as long as they're there and you have developed your knowledge from it, it will be credited. However, I'm going to give you an example of a paragraph that shows you how to answer this question, which follows this structure. So this student starts their paragraph with the item hook right up here. So they're talking about subject choice. And you'll notice that they give examples of that subject choice and why they do that. Okay, so they don't choose STEM subjects, and that is because of things like gendered subject images and teachers for those subjects being male, and so on. They then explicitly link it back to the question. So they say, as a result, girls face problems, and they explain what those problems are. So limited opportunities due to subject choice, which then can also affect their future experiences in careers and limits on what they can pursue. They also link it back to the feminine roles and how girls are choosing traditionally feminine roles such as homemaking and health and social care. Now, there is also some analysis. So what they do here is the extent to which schools are creating these subject choices. They suggest that it's actually factors outside of school that might influence the processes and stereotypes that are taught to girls that ultimately influence their subject choice. And suggesting right that at the end in their evaluation that the problem with this factor is that it is ignoring external factors which are contributing to the limited choices and problems for girls. So what about the second paragraph? And this is where you can have a go at writing one yourself. So you would need to develop the second hook, which is pupils expressing their identities, which then may lead to conflict. You've got possible knowledge that you could develop with this. You could talk about Archer and the hyper-heterosexual identity of working class girls and compare it to the boffin identity, that identity which is more asexual and focus on academic progress. You could develop it in terms of Lee's research, double standards and verbal abuse that appear, especially when boys and girls do not conform to traditional gender roles. And also Mac and Gale, the male gaze and how girls' behaviour, the way that they dress, are used as a form of surveillance. Remember, you will get analysis marks by discussing to what extent does this apply to all girls, and even a discussion of class differences, the middle class versus working class, or even a comparison to boys' behaviour. So let's have a look at the examiner commentary. So the examiner comments are released after the exam, and it's a summary about how each question was answered generally. You can gain some fantastic insight to what the examiner was looking for. Now, in this first paragraph, they talk about how this question did pose a challenge compared to previous years, and that was due to the application of the hooks or the prompts to be developed. Most students were able to find the first hook, which was to do with subject choice. However, there was a variation in how well the second hook about identity was addressed. If you read this paragraph here, that was about the subject choice paragraph. And this was about the second hook about identity of expression and how that was not as commonly well utilised, but it gives you some insight to the things that you could have written about, and I've mentioned those already. Now, what I do want to emphasise is this paragraph here. They say it is crucial to emphasise that the last sentence of the item, which paraphrases the question or rewrites the question, is not intended to be used as a hook. You will not be credited for this. And they're making a point here. They're saying this has been highlighted in previous examiner reports and it continues to be an issue. So please take note that that final sentence of the item is not a hook. The hooks are in the first two sentences. So to summarise, make sure you read the question at least twice before answering, highlight and annotate, organise your thoughts, make sure that you are applying to the item. Remember, it's the first two sentences. The final sentence is not a hook. If you do not use the item, you are going to maximise your marks at 3. If you use the item once, you are going to max at 7. Ensure you explain your point, link to all parts of the question, and offer analysis or evaluation for the AO3. Make sure you are practicing using past exam papers and question banks and utilise those examiner reports. Massive thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed what you have seen and you would like to see more, please make sure you click that follow, and you can find all the exam questions, mark schemes and examiner reports on the AQA website in the assessment resources.